What's up, guys? This is Andrew Frezza with Melissa Dixon of Care Coach Lead, and today we're going to give you guys some long-term fixes for back pain, 3 of my favorite exercises that we can give you to help you and your clients fix back pain, hopefully for good. So the first video that was on this channel, we talked about the one thing that changed the way that we view and coach deadlifts, and if you haven't checked out that video, I would highly recommend checking it out. But in that video, we showed an example of Melissa deadlifting from the ground where she was having trouble hitting really good positions in her deadlift and looked like she was kind of driving the knees out, struggling to kind of like reach to the ground at the bottom of her deadlift. So in that, I had her step up, and let's go ahead and see it again, do a toe touch test. This is one of our movement assessments that we do. She goes straight legs and she just relaxes and reaches as far to the ground as she can go. Okay, so she's short. She wanted me to tell you that she's not actually short. She's just showing us that she's short for the video. So if she was an athlete who was actually short, we, in that class, had 2 great modifications for her. We could throw her up on risers, on plates, or we could have her switch to an RDL where she's just going as far as she can go with good position, not worrying about touching the ground, and then coming back up. Those are great modifications to keep her safe that day. But let's say she's someone that now wants to do personal training with us, personal programming with us, and we want to help her find a really good long-term solution to help lengthen her hamstrings, get her that full test on the toe touch test, and hopefully provide some relief to her lower back.
Yeah, so keep in mind, this athlete that we're talking about, we're hypothetically talking about someone who's full in all other areas. We have a full movement assessment that we run at FitTown. We're testing rectus femoris, we're testing all of their hip mobility. So we're assuming this athlete has everything else passing, and the only glaring or low-hanging fruit is this toe touch test for these specific movements.
Exactly. So this is one piece of a larger puzzle. We're kind of hand-picking an athlete, an imaginary athlete, that this is the low-hanging fruit for them. And actually, take myself an example. This series, this sequence of movements really helped me out. I am kind of that athlete. I may have some other issues, but in terms of the back issues that I have, but the toe touch test is the most glaring one. So this sequence really helped me. I have a herniated disc from a few years back, and this helped me to take some of that extra tension that I have on the low back at all times, okay?
Side note, if you guys don't have a movement assessment that you're currently using, we use Active Life as ours, so it gives you, a head-to-toe assessment for your athletes. That's who we've adopted, but, we've taken in some other things as well from other disciplines to kind of look at our athletes, but I highly recommend getting your own system together of how you are testing your athletes for personal coaching and for the class experience.
Yeah, if you're doing any type of personal training or personal programming and you want to be able to give real value to your clients, you got to have a movement assessment. If you're going to be dealing with any type of athletes with injuries, and almost every single athlete that you work with is going to have some of these little issues that you're going to have to either work around or try to help fix for them. All right, so I'm going to run you guys through the sequence. We're going to run Melissa through the sequence right now. This is something you can do as like 2 to 3 rounds to kick off your warm-up on a day that you're going to be doing deadlifts or RDLs in that main piece of the workout. So the first exercise is what we call sciatic nerve flossing. So with this one, she's going to grab on her hamstring just below her knee here, and depending on how flexible you are, if she's more flexible, then he's going to go towards her face. If she's less flexible, she might even have to crunch up a little bit, because we do want the leg to be 100% straight. So she's going to go from knee bent, go ahead back to the beginning, she's going to go from knee bent, she's going to straighten her leg, and then she's going to pull her toes down to her face, straighten the toes, and then bend the knee again. So you want to follow that sequence each time, straighten the leg, toes back towards your face, point the toes, and then release that tension, okay? And you could do anywhere from 5 to 10 reps, depending on how fast you're going with that, and you're going to do that on both sides, even if maybe your injury seems like it's favoring one side or the other. You want to try to even those sides out, okay? So that's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is what we call a feedback deadlift or feedback RDL. We're going to do the RDL version. So with this actually works great if you could do this in a class setting on a warm-up day. If you have athletes that struggle to feel what it's like to send their butt back on a kettlebell swing or a deadlift, this is a great feedback tool you can use on a day that you already have boxes out for like step-ups or box jumps, and then you also have a hinging movement in the workout. You can use this to kind of warm up. But what she's gonna do is she's gonna put her heels and calves against the box, and her heels and calves have to keep contact on the box during the entire RDL, okay? And this is gonna reinforce that buck pack position as she hinges over, and probably wanna do this at roughly like a 3 to 4 second tempo down. You could or not have a pause at the bottom and then get that little bit of acceleration on the way up, okay? And you're gonna notice that her calves and heels stay on there, and it's giving her just the perfect amount of knee bend on that RDL. We want that slight knee bend, but it's mostly a knee bend that's created from sending the butt and hips back, okay? So similar rep range there, 5 to 10 reps depending on how fast or slow you're going. And then the last one we're gonna do is a Jefferson curl, and we're gonna do it with the foam roller between her knees. And the reason we do that, we talked about internal rotation in the last video, the same one that we're referencing, and this is gonna help keep her in that internal rotated position so she's not trying to cheat the reps. So if you're programming this for a remote athlete and you wanna have a little way to get them to make sure that they're moving well without your eyes on them at all times, things like the feedback of the box or the feedback of the foam roller are great ways to reinforce great movement when you can't have eyes on them at all times, okay? So she's gonna squeeze the foam roller between her knees, and she's gonna go down vertebrae by vertebrae, tucking her chin, slowly tucking the upper back and shoulders down, and then working her way vertebrae by vertebrae, relaxing towards the ground while keeping the knees locked out, okay? So she's gonna keep going as far as she can. I always like to sit down in the bottom position for a few seconds just to make sure that is truly your bottom. And then she's gonna slowly come up vertebrae by vertebrae, but in reverse, okay? So she's now starting with the low back, pulling it up to the sky, and then slowly with the mid back, upper back, shoulders, and neck. So we did learn, in fact, that she is flexible enough to touch the ground, and she proved us wrong from the first test. Okay, so this I would recommend a little bit lower on the rep scheme, just so you're not trying to like go fast to just get through the set. You're better off doing 3 to 5 reps really slow like that versus trying to do 6 to 8, 8 to 10 and starting to speed up the motion and not really getting that vertebrae by vertebrae sequencing that we would want on this. And you can add load in this movement, even though you have a rounded back and people think you shouldn't load up movements within a rounded back. You definitely do. If you start to get full range of motion, you can create some additional stability, additional strength in those ranges with a little bit of load, and you could load it up just how we did that feedback RDL, holding a dumbbell on each end, and just take small increases as you get stronger and more flexible. So I hope that sequence is helpful. Again, I would probably do 3 rounds of that as a warm-up before a hinging day. And that's something that you could do once or twice a week for an athlete that wants to create long-term solutions to their limited flexibility and limited range of motion. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below, and we'll see you in the next video.